And we're live. Welcome to the All Balls No Filter podcast, live from the cabin kitchen. I'm Zach, he's Brad,
Hello.
and behind the scenes, we have a man that was once the Guinness World Record holder for the most amount of matchsticks stacked on top of each other. It's researcher Cal.
Welcome, everybody. Hello, researcher Cal. Hello, Zach. How are you?
I'm good, my man. I'm good. I am feeling festive. I can't wait. Tomorrow's my last day. I got my Christmas jumper on. I'm in good spirits, bro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm ready for the next few days to take complete hold of everybody's lives, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to some ball.
Hell yeah, man. We've got plenty of ball coming up as well. We've got plenty of ball coming up. What we got on today's show, buddy?
Yeah, so today we're going to touch on the latest news around the world, some fresh injuries taking hold this week, Puka and DK having what I can only describe as a brain fart moment, our three balls of the week for the last week of 16, our 60-second whip around, and the rest of the league looking at what's going on and any other headlines from the world of sport.
Hell yeah. Let's get stuck into it, shall we? So we're going to hit with the week 16 news to begin with. And there's still a little bit to go around. There's a bit that I want to get your view on as well. But we're going to start out with the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they going to be the Kansas Chiefs? What's that? They are moving. They've just announced they're putting a bid in 2031, I believe it is, according to the stats that research Carl's got for us. 2031, they've put their application. The stadium's going to be built from there. Wow, we've got a team on the move.
I wonder just how far they're actually moving. I mean, there's all the hype, isn't it, about how many teams Missouri, I never know how to say that state, but
Yeah.
how many teams they've actually lost. And obviously, Kansas City being in that state, not actually being in the state of Kansas. But what I heard actually just a couple of hours ago, actually, was that the stadium's actually going to be built on the border, the cross-state border.
Right.
So I wonder, I don't know, how does it work? Like,
So
crazy politics of state lines and everything, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
this, like, as of today, so we're recording on technically Christmas Eve today, and this news got broke, as far as I'm aware, this morning for us. So this is relatively fresh information that's coming out into the world. Basically, I don't know anything regarding it. Like, it'd be nice to hear our buddy Max's view on this, because Max is a Kansas City Chiefs diehard fan. You know, he's an Arrowhead. He loves the team. But it'd be nice to hear from him what he thinks about this. But yeah, we'll have to see what comes back on this. To be fair, we will
Yeah, I
indeed.
mean, the thing that gets me with it though is, and I think this has been quite busy on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it as well, is they're going from Arrowhead, which is quite a, I don't know, if you think of the design of the stadium, it's quite individual in its own right. I think, the closest comparison I'd sort of compare it to is Seattle's, but the mock-ups for the new design just look like every other stadium that's been built at the
Yeah,
minute. Um, you're kind of losing that identity, which is a shame. I think Arrowhead's got that
yeah.
identity, hasn't it? But
But
you
money
know,
talks, and if a state's going to give you loads of money to move over there, with state of the art facilities, look at other teams that have moved in the past 10, 15 years or whatever it's been, and they've been getting these state of the art matches. It's bad when nowadays a lot of the college facilities are better than the NFL facilities. So if you want to take it while you can and go, then go. Luckily for Kansas, they're not going to lose. They're only going to lose a little bit of the name, which is the city part. There's been teams that have lost states. So, but yeah, there's one to keep an eye on. That's for sure. That is definitely one to keep an eye on. Next in this week's news, your boy's been benched. Tua Tagovailoa, if I pronounced that correctly. Either way, Tua's been benched. Tank for Tua hasn't worked in Miami. Being a Miami fan, what's your view on this, dude?
if you'd have asked me a year ago, I'd have been almost certainly against it. Um, but there's just been something different this year. And I don't know if it's Tua, if it's the system or the play calling or the play design, because you can only argue so much with the play calling because Achan's had an absolute stormer of a season. He's just been nominated to the Pro Bowl team for the AFC. Is Miami's standalone player. Got a couple of reserve players in there, but So of course you're going to lean on that running game when it's actually finally sort of working. But it's just, I just think with Tua you get everything or you get nothing. Is either on it, and I mean on it, or he's making stupid decisions. But when you watch tape of him from college or even, his early couple of seasons with McDaniel where he had his most success, he just seems like a different player this year. And I don't know whether that's a physical thing, whether it's a scheme thing, or whether it's all the money in his pockets weighing him down a little bit. I don't know. It just feels different this year. And I think with how the season's gone, and I think with this decision now, there's there's a few ways forward, but it's still pretty unclear what they're going to be. I don't think there's any way forward where you've got Mike McDaniel as head coach and Tua starting as QB1 next season.
I'm. Oh, sorry. Go on, carry on.
I just think, yeah, it's just a difficult one. I mean, the money is a big factor. I think there's ways around it. You can take the hit. Denver did it with Russ. Granted, Tua's money is even a little bit more significant, so the hit would be bigger. But you can do it. You've just got to make sure you're drafting well and that you've got a very low paid QB who maybe can take you somewhere, to be able to take that hit for a season or two. Whether they trade him and take a hit on some of the money, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting off season, I think, for the Finns.
No, that's the thing for me. So I predict Tua having a Sam Darnold season within the next 2 or 3 years, where he getting drafted around, or like a Daniel Jones season where he gets drafted to another team that fits him a bit better. Now I think Tua hasn't changed that much. I think Miami's just changed and Tua hasn't followed. I don't think it's his scheme fit anymore. Just from an outsider looking in, when it comes down to Miami, I love Tua. I've always been a fan of Tua. The guy does get concussed more times than I change my underwear like, but he's been getting better this year with that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be hard to shift him onto a team that might be a better fit for him because of his contract. Who's going to want to take that contract on? Who's going to want to give up the draft capital to take somebody on like him? How do you get around doing this? Again, time's going to tell with this. Where do we see at the end of the year? There's going to be a couple of free agent QBs. What are the Chiefs going to do? We're going to get into the Chiefs very soon in the next section. Could Tua be a possibility over there as a backup? We don't know yet. I very much doubt it because of the money side of things. But is Tua going to be at Miami in 2026?
You could see him. I could see him somewhere. I could see him with KOC and the Vikings. I could see him. I could see him in a Shanahan team in San Fran, maybe as a backup, but it's a very expensive backup. I've got my own questions on Purdy and things, which we won't get into now, but you're absolutely right. I think he's definitely got that Sam Darnold potential where he goes somewhere else. It's the right fit. And I think Miami was the right fit. I just think there's limitations with McDaniel. I think he's not evolved enough, although he's showing more of that, I think, now this season. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
So we'll see where Tua is in a few months' time. We'll see what goes with that. Moving on to our next bit of news. The NFL has a new heavyweight champion of the world, and his name is DK Metcalf. What on earth are you doing? Now, look, I don't know what's happened, what this guy said or anything like that, but DK, you're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year to stand on that sideline, play on that field, to play ball. You cannot be grabbing somebody. Look, context here. If you haven't seen it, if you've been living under a rock and you don't follow any sort of NFL football pages, the Detroit Lions fan has said something on the sideline to DK Metcalf. He's not liked it. DK's walked up, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, and all I can say is just thrown his hand towards his face. I'm not going to say if he hit him or slapped him or anything like that. He just threw his hand toward his face, and the Lions fan stood up, cheered like he'd got the reaction that he wanted. Stop playing into him, dude. Like, I'm not saying it's right what's happened, but you're going to get goaded on that field. You're going to do it. Like, He's there. He's intoxicated. Well, maybe intoxicated. We don't know what he said. I aren't condoning what he has said. If he has, well, with this both sides of the story here, he's saying he just called him by his first name. DK saying otherwise. I can't comment for definite what he's saying. But regardless, dude, just walk away. You've got a full sideline you can walk up and down on. Just walk away.
Have you seen
You
these
can't do
reports
it.
that the guy who he's swung a punch at or he's swung his hand at, whatever you want to say it is, but have you seen the reports that DK's actually had an altercation with this same guy back in Seattle? So I've not seen it. I've not gone back and looked too much at it, but I know I've definitely been reading that today that it's actually the same guy that he's had an incident with from when he was in Seattle, which is an interesting nugget. But I think ultimately you paid money to play the game, and you know that whether it's right or wrong, regardless of what's been said, obviously there's rumours. Or DK's come out and said it's one thing, which is very different to what the fans said. But regardless of which it is, you're a professional athlete on the field, and you know you're going to get some bite from fans,
Just can't do
and
it.
you're there to play a game. He's just
Yeah.
cost himself, was it 40 million potentially in guaranteed money now because of this 2-match suspension? Like,
Too much.
that's a very
Too much.
expensive punch to throw, and we'll speak about expensive punches later on today. But like, that's a silly, silly decision.
Too much suspension, unpaid. What are you doing? Look, right. This leads on very nicely to our next part of the news. If you want to talk about how you bounce back off fan backlash, there's only one person you can look at nowadays. Well, this week, and that's Puka Nakua, right? So this time last week, Puka was enemy number one, right? The fans didn't like him. The referees didn't like him. The NFL didn't like him because he'd said things, done things that he'd not realised how severe it was. Credit where credit's due. He held his hand up. He apologised for that. He told the referees they were just wanting airtime on TV, so he was going to get calls against him. And instead of letting all the backlash, all the shit online get him and build him up and bring him down, and all that jazz, the guy came out, and I'm just looking at my notes here. The guy came out and he had 12 receptions, 225 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the most yards he's had all year on the bounce back after a backlash from the fans. Hey, DK, take a leaf out of Puka's book, right? Who's getting paid probably a quarter of what you are right now, right? And just go play the game. Stop, just go play the game. Puka, hats off to you, buddy. You are an absolute steal. I keep talking fantasy, which is great. But me, myself, and Brad are in a fantasy league, and Jack, who drafted Puka, drafted him because he had a cool name in the 4th round of his rookie drafting dynasty. And now look, he's now in the final of the Raider Bowl. So look, Puka, you keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Keep smashing it. Just watch what you're saying online and watch what you're doing and everything. But you just keep smashing it, buddy. Yeah, you're absolutely on fire with that. So yeah, like it's good. It's good to see. It's good to see. Puka's just one of their own. So that is this week's major news. We're going to move on to the injuries now, unless you've got anything else that you want to say on the news there, Brad.
No, just that JJ McCarthy's still a terrible quarterback. Moving on.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Right, we're going to move on to this now, onto the injuries for the week. The Chiefs and their QB woes. So the Chiefs last week, I'm not sure if you heard it, might have missed that information, but the Chiefs last week lost a little guy called Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that QB anyway. That's been an absolute star for the past 10 years or whatever. Well, however many years should I say? They lost him last week to an ACL and an LCL tear, which is 9 months out. So up steps 17 Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania, the guy who steps onto the field, makes plays, unplayable plays happen. Halfway through this game, the guy goes down with an injury as well. And, not great signs to begin with. It looks like it's a potential ACL tear. They're taking him off. Everyone's worried. So up steps a man called Chris. I'm just looking at my notes here because I need to read this name properly. Chris Oladokan, I believe his name is. 3rd string QB, undrafted free agent. He'd only taken 1 snap in his career prior to this. Come out through 11 for 16 and 111 yards. Credit where credit's due, buddy. You stepped up there. But where does this leave the QB room for the where does this lead the QB room for the Chiefs going into next year?
I
I don't
think
know.
it's a worrying picture, isn't it? Like we've got 9 months, I think the reporting is, without Patrick Mahomes, and that's going to be even an absolute crazy best case scenario. He's back for week 1. I don't see it.
Even if he is, he's missed preseason. He's missed
Yeah,
preseason. He's missed OTAs. He's missed what? He's missed everything to do with preseason and getting to know his new teammates if they do sign anybody. So this is where I was thinking, like Russell Wilson will be leaving the Giants, no doubt about it, at the end of this year. Do they take somebody on with veteran status like someone like Wilson to just buffer it, or what do they do?
I think you've got to look at that as an option. Low money contract, a veteran who knows the sport, knows how to read a defense, not someone who's learning on the go. A rookie is just not the right way forward for this. The reports obviously are, Minshew didn't luckily tear his ACL, which I think was the initial reporting. So maybe you keep Minshew, maybe he'll be back. I don't know what the full picture is on that one with him, how severe it is, how long that will actually be, but you'd like to think it's not going to be as long as Mahomes with, the significant
No,
injury that Mahomes has had. So maybe that's something you can look at. He's not going to command too much money. So I think you've got to look at all options, but I think veterans definitely the way forwards. A cheap deal, someone who's not going to realistically risk Mahomes' job. I'm not sure anyone who could realistically do that anyway, but they need someone to hold that fort for a little while, don't they?
I think Minshew's got a bruised bone in his knee. I think that's what it came back to, but he's out for the remainder of the season. They've only got a couple of weeks left anyway, but yeah, he's out for that. So yes, look, I'll say this week in week out. I don't like the Chiefs. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. But I don't want anyone to get hurt, and it's shit what's happening there. 2 week on the bounce, 2 starting QBs go down. It's not great. Like godsend, and I hope they get out the speed of recovery on that side of things. Moving on to the next bit of injury news, we have a rookie running back who plays for the Cleveland Browns, known as Quinshon Judkins, who went down this week with a broken leg. Where he actually dislocated his ankle and fractured his fibula, is what the reports are saying. 4 to 5 months out, which is a bit of a shame because I think to begin the year, he was just finding his feet, and then as the season's gone on, he's been consistent. He's the number one runner in Cleveland. He's actually the second highest rusher in the rookie running backs this year, being 1 yard behind Genty. That's it. 1 yard at this moment in time behind Genty. And we know the Raiders' offense is that bad. They have nobody other than Genty to kind of fall back on. Brock Bowers every now and then, like in the air, but that's where the offense is there. But he will get into his feet. The question lies here is running backs that injure their legs with breaks. What does history tell you about their year backs afterwards? It's not
It's
really
worrying.
ideal.
It comes down to the reason, I guess, running backs feel so, with the exception of a few, they feel almost disposable, which is an awful thing to say, and it's not quite as meant as harsh as it sounds, if you like. But there's a reason their contracts are what they are. There's a reason they are cycled through various teams quite regularly. You often find big name running backs have played for a variety of teams for various reasons, and they do sometimes feel disposable in the NFL. And I think someone who showed so much promise. I really like Judkins. I think he's great. I had drafted Judkins in fantasy and stood by that. Despite the start of the season that he had, obviously those challenges from a fantasy perspective, but also from his career perspective, that was a challenging start. But he stepped up since getting onto the field, and I think he showed a lot of promise. But like you say, a broken leg for a running back's a tough old injury. So I think time will tell with that one.
That's it. That's it. So again, godsend. Hopefully everything gets well. And I do wish him the best for when he comes back. I do hope he kind of gains that traction again because Cleveland need it. They need someone that can kind of build their offense around that QB room at the moment. Looks like it's going to be Sanders going forward, but he's just so up in the air with the head coach, the QB room. They need someone to build it around, and Judkins was that man. Um, Final two from this week are both Achilles tear. Another big injury that's happening over the past 2 seasons in particular. We have the Packers tight end John Fitzpatrick and the Arizona Cardinals DB Garrett Williams, who both went down with ACL tears. Something has to be. Oh, sorry, and I missed one there. We the Cardinals defensive lineman Walter Nolan with a knee injury as well. Unknown on the time that they're out, but yeah, the Achilles tears for me are the concerning ones because they're happening so much this year, and it just seems to me that these things are happening a lot more frequently than what we used to in the past.
Yeah, they're becoming sort of weekly news, aren't they? And it's a shame, and a lot of them tend to be non-contact injuries with the Achilles as well, which is a difficult pill to swallow, I guess, for as a player. You expect a game like this. It's tough. It's physical. You kind of expect knocks and injuries to happen within the game, but the non-contact ones and Achilles tend to be that more often than not. They're a real shame. They're a real shame for these guys.
Yeah, yeah, they are. On to some positive news though. We have teams that have already clinched playoff status. So we're going to have a look at them right quickly now. So the teams that have clinched the playoff status, we're looking through the AFC to begin with. That's the Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, Los Angeles Chargers, Buffalo Bills, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars are a team we're going to touch on very soon. I want to talk about them because I like them. I'm not going to lie. But the AFC, 5 teams through at this moment in time, looking strong. Seeing Denver and New England back in the mix, it reminds me of the old Peyton Brady days. It's bringing back some good memories from here. But yeah, the playoffs are going to be, they're looking like they're going to start to be good. Into the NFC now, we have the Seattle Seahawks, Chicago Bears, shock, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. Looking at them, Brad, in the AFC, NFC, any teams that stand out to you being we're expecting this?
I think when you just look at the picture as a whole, especially in the AFC and a little bit to the NFC, but I think it's when you look at the AFC and you've not got in there the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals of recent years, it opens up quite an exciting picture. We discussed in last week's episode, and obviously we discussed too, I'm a Dolphins fan, so yes, I'm gutted not to see them in there. Part of me hates the fact that Patriots are in there, but I also quite like the way they've got there this year. They're an absolute embodiment of their new coach, and I think that whole picture so far it's exciting. It's good to see the Broncos back. It's good to see the Chargers in the way they're playing this year. The Jags are a team that I have a little soft spot for them. They're the sort of unofficial team of the UK, if you like, but they're so up and down year on year. So it's exciting to see the way they've played over the last few weeks and sort of coming good at the right time. The NFC is a tough one. You've got the stalwarts in there like Eagles, Rams are in there, 49ers, who I think have gone under the radar this year, but actually just this past week played an absolute dominant game. But the Seahawks, along with the Rams, are just, I think they're the crop above, I think, or they have been throughout the season. So I think it's going to be an exciting playoff race, definitely.
You roll back to the start of the season, or Sam Darnold's announced Seahawks QB. Were you seeing Seahawks in the playoff run? No, I don't think anybody was. It's a very similar thing with the Chicago Bears for me as well. Caleb Williams, great quarterback. Ben Johnson, great coach. Just different mindsets. There were different personalities, and everyone thought they were going to clash. They got off to a slow start, and then all of a sudden they've just been rolling and playing absolutely. Caleb over these past couple of weeks has played out of his skin. It's been a blessing to see. But I'm excited for these playoffs. I think there's a lot of potential teams in there. And going back to the Kansas City thing for the past couple of years, it's been Kansas are in the playoffs. They're going to win. We can see this already. They're going to win. Past 2 years, Philadelphia, they're going to win. You can see it. They're a class above everybody else. They're going to win. I genuinely think that between the 10 teams that are there right now, like we can see, I think everyone's got something about them to put a push in, to put a genuine push in. And I'm excited to see it. I really am. It's it's going to be good. But that condones the news of the week for this week. We now need to get into our first feature of the day, and that will be the balls of the week.
Let's do it.
So, Brad, balls of the week, introduce it. What is it? First time listener.
Balls of the week are our top 3 games. So probably, typically, the most exciting games, maybe the games that mean the most, or sometimes just the games that we want to talk about because we don't give a shit. So the feature game for our first feature game, sorry, that we're going to start with today is Jags at Broncos. Really, really exciting game for the Jags, but I think just for a neutral fan generally. Broncos have been undefeated in their home ground since October 24. So over 12 months, you're looking at 14 months undefeated on home turf. And the Jags, who, we gave Trev a little bit of his, give him his flowers last week a little bit and sort of highlighted how much of a good game it was. But I'll hold my hands up. I also followed that up with, but it was against the Jets. And I want to go and see Trev do that against a good team, and I want to see him play consistently. And although I'd say it was probably a full team performance from the Jags, the Jags offense had some moments, definitely. And they went into Denver and they took it to the Broncos D and they got the victory. But I thought Trev had a really solid day. He threw for multiple touchdowns. He got a rushing score of his own, and he took some beating as well. He took some hits,
Yeah.
but he stood there like kind of the QB that you sort of hoped he would be coming out of college, and like he's definitely shown moments of over the years. I don't think he's ever had a season where he's just looked awful, but he is quite an up and down QB generally. But following on from last week's game, he's gone and done it again. And he's took the Jags offense, supported by their D, and beaten arguably the best team in the AFC at this moment, perhaps.
Yeah. Like, it was a great game. Jags just seemed to get the ball roll, like you say, on all sides of the field. But it hit me today. Like, Jags are the team this year. And I don't know if it's just this is a personal opinion, not factual. You might tell me I'm wrong on this. I feel like the Jags have been out of the news all year. They've not been highlighted as, oh my god, the Jags could be in the playoffs. Like those other teams like the Patriots or the Broncos, people are a bit in that limelight of things that's happening. And the Jags are sat there now. What is it, 11-4 they are now, or along the lines of they're just sat there. Research Calvin, just give me their win loss at this moment in time. I believe it's around that. But like they're sat there looking really fucking good, like really good. And I was watching through the highlights of the game, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is the Trev that we saw at Clemson. This is the undrafted. So this is the unbeaten Trev that we saw. They're 11-4. Oh, thanks, Cal. They're 11-4 right now. But it seems to have come out of nowhere for me. I just, and credit where credit's due to them. We've seen the Jags 101 times in London, and they've never been that entertaining, in my opinion. I don't know if it's because of the amount of time we've seen them or anything, but geez, this team at this moment in time, they're getting the ball and you're thinking, what are they going to do next? Like, they just have weapons all around the field. And if I'm a Jags fan watching them at this moment in time, I'd be excited for every game because they're getting the TV time, especially in the UK, and they're kind of guaranteed here at least a couple of times each year. I'd be like, geez, this is the team that we've been investing our money into for the past X amount of years going to see. They've now got weapons. They've got a good running back, got good wide receivers. They're investing in the right areas. They're giving extensions out to receivers and things. Like they're just getting there. And it's showing on the field now.
I think that shows confidence, doesn't it? That they feel as a team they're doing the right things. You know, they picked up the new receiver off the waiver wire and then um, have extended him already. You know, and I think that just shows confidence in what they're doing and that they're doing the right thing. It'll be interesting next week. Obviously, they've got the Colts next week as an in-division game, and the Colts need to win out, I believe, to even have a chance. I think they've still got to have things maybe go their own way to make the playoffs, but it'll be interesting to see how they then play against a divisional rival next week. You know, they had the Jets, it's a rollover game for them, easy peasy, no problems. But then they've made a statement this week. Excuse me, they've made a statement against the Broncos, and they just need to keep doing it now. They need to ride that wave into the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%, 100% great team, and just all around great. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Broncos are still looking good. They're still performing well. They looked good in the game. They're just, it's going to sound daft when I say it, it's like they just weren't as good. And it were just two very good, very informed teams right now coming up against each other that just go from there. So yeah, just Colts need to win out. Houston need to lose once for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
From
I mean,
that side of things
the
there.
Broncos, I don't think the Broncos need to worry. I think, you know, the streak they've had has been outstanding. Bo Nix looks great. You know, that
Yeah.
first touchdown he threw was so pretty. It was just such a lovely ball. I don't think the Broncos need to worry after this game as such. I think they just need to make sure that they don't repeat next week and go the opposite way of what we've just spoke about Jags doing, really.
They've secured playoff status. Don't risk your big plays at this moment in time. You know, for me, I've been looking now as to what we're going to do to make sure we've got a fit and healthy team going into the playoffs without risking too much. You know, you're already in there. The hard work starts now in that second part of the season. But all in all, good game, good thing to look at from there. Anything else on the game before we move on to game number 2?
No, no. I'm excited to see what the Broncos do in the playoffs. I think they've got a real shot of definitely being in the conference game, if not the Super Bowl. But it'll be exciting to see.
Indeed. Looking forward to it. Right, we're going to move on to game number 2. And before we do, please don't shoot me. Right, if you listened last week, I'm not being biased, but Balls of the Week game number 2 involves the Patriots again, but this time for a good reason. 28-24, Patriots, Ravens. Oh boy, we're back. And wow, did we look good. Now, 11 points down in the fourth quarter, came back to that victory. That makes last week's, 21 point up at halftime or whatever it was, feel a little bit better about myself because we came back rather than leading from there. We have an issue like it starting slow and them just taking over the game as it goes on. This would, there's some key points from the game at the weekend, which just shows why we're going to win the Super Bowl and why Drake May's the MVP, in my opinion. And I don't care what anybody else says. Drake May's the MVP because he's amazing. Right? I love this kid. He's absolutely fantastic. He had a career game, right? So a career game being 31 of 44, right? With his completion, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Hey, look, everyone makes mistakes, but the big one was 380 passing yards. That's like Leeds Bradford Airport over the top of that field, right? There were just balls flying everywhere. We love it. Woo woo! Just straight up past it. Now there is some downside, some credit where credit's due to the Ravens, right? They ran the ball well against us and they stopped our run game. Our run game had so they ran for 171 yards against us. They were great. Derrick Henry, I don't know what happened towards the back end of the game, but they stopped giving the ball as much when out of that 171 yards, Derrick Henry had 128 of them and 2 touchdowns. So if it's working, just feeding the ball. Like, he scored 24 points. He scored the majority of your points, giving that ball, let him run, feed him. But where the Ravens D stood well was their run stop against us. So like they held us to 79 total rushing yards. And out of them 79, 21 of them yards was on one play where Stevenson scored from the outside run again. And if there's any running backs out there listening to this and you want to know how to follow a lead block properly, watch that Stevenson run. He made the DB step up to the wide receiver and just played him like a fiddle. It was a thing of beauty to watch from a coaching and playing side of the game. It was unreal to watch. But yeah, it's nice to see him moving. Again, the Ravens haven't been in form, but when the Ravens are in form, they're a great outfit to play up against, and they did show that, and they did show signs. Look, I've got a soft spot for the Ravens. I really like the Ravens. I always have done. I like Lamar. I like what they're doing there. I think this year it's a bit concerning for them. Don't know what they're going to do coaching wise going forward. Are they going to stick to the guns and carry on? This year's just been tough. I know they've been riddled with injuries, but so have the 49ers, and they're in the playoffs. So it's one of them for me. But that being said, we took that victory. We go from there. We are also 7-0 on the road. We are the only undefeated team on the road. So we don't care if we're home and away. Bring it on, baby. The Patriots are back.
I just feel like every now and then you get one of these games from Harbaugh where he just makes the most stupid or questionable decisions. And so when you spoke about Henry having a stormer of a game, but then he's left out at the end of the fourth. And I don't know if you saw this, but he was actually asked about it. And he basically said, it's not an exact quote, but he basically said he kept him off because it's of the running back rotation. Like, come on, we're not playing under 12s football. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a group of guys who are paying to play. It's professional athletes. It's a professional sport. And when you've had a guy having the game that Henry was having and had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, 120 plus yards, put him in the damn game.
that's it.
I
That's
just
it.
don't get it.
That's it. I, I don't. I don't. And I'm happy that he's done this because obviously he's the main driving force of their offense from what he showed, and he's not playing. I just don't get it. Like you say, there's times and places to be sharing the reps around people, and that's not one of them. But look, I'm not gonna rant on too much about the Patriots other than the fact that we are gonna take it all home. I'm so hyped at this moment in time, and I'm fangirling over Drake May because he's the one. And we don't have a starting left tackle either. Bear that in mind. Will Campbell is still out, and we're still passing for 380 yards. If Will Campbell's there, we're passing 500 yards because he's a goat. Anyway, balls of the week, game number 3. The Packers and the Bears. Let's get into this one, shall we?
I think this is one of those games that the Bears really, really needed. It's a statement game for them. They got the win that they needed. They came from a 10-point deficit. They took the Packers to overtime, and my God, did you see the game-winning throw? That was one of the best balls I've seen thrown for as long as I can remember. It was absolutely picture perfect. Granted, the catch was equally as impressive. He had the defender all over his back, but they've took that lead in the NFC North with an overtime victory against their bitter, bitter rival. And Ben Johnson's just he's got to be in for a massive shout of Coach of the Year. He has gone
Fully
into the
agree.
Bears. He's turned them around. I think he made a gamble taking on that job, and I think realistically the only reason he took it was because of Caleb Williams, who realistically didn't show previously that he absolutely was the it guy, but he definitely shows there was promise there. But he is doing things in Chicago that they've not seen in decades, absolute decades. And it's an impressive win at the right time of the season.
This goes on to we spoke about like the Jags. If I'm a Bears fan right now, we have Bears fans that are our friends. If I'm a Bears fan now, I'm getting excited to see where this team can go because it's a young team. It's a young outfit with a young head coach that could genuinely be naughty when it comes down to it. Like you said with the whole Ben Johnson Williams, now they're together and they're moving forward. They're on the same wavelength. Some of these play designs that they're coming up with, some of these, it is unreal. Like you say, one of the biggest bugbears for the NFL for me is when that last play of the game, Caleb gets the credit for. When it is 50-50 on the credit. Or should be 50, or if not more. Yes, Caleb's done a great ball. He's throwing a ball that only the receiver is catching. But when he's all getting like mauled as he's getting tackled, as catching the ball, sorry, that ball's so hard to catch. That ball doesn't get caught. That's a stat against Caleb, and it makes Caleb look like he's throwing a ball in the wrong area, right? And I just think it's incredible to watch. And the state of the refereeing at the moment, I didn't want to touch too much on it, but like the non-pass interferences that they're missing a lot of, like over the weekend, is not great to see. But at the same time, hey, look, credit where credit's due there. The Bears look great. They're a team, they are a team right now.
They really are, and I think they've got it all to play for. The NFC is going to be tough with the Rams and the Seahawks in there, but I think taking it to the conference championship game for them would be a mega turnaround. Do I see them winning it all? No, I don't. But it's exciting to see for a team like the Bears.
That's it. I don't think they need to win it all this year. I think just having that statement to be a bit more of an appealing place to go to as a free agent, because if you're a winning team that's pushing playoffs, pushing potentially getting towards the Super Bowl or conference games, like if you're a free agent, you want to go to a place like that, you're going to bring your agent up and go, hey, get me a Chicago right now. I can do bits with Caleb, for instance. So I think it makes him a more appealing place for free agents to go to as well in the offseason and can try and sign well. The draft capital is going to go down because it's going to be further down the draft order. But do you think this would have gone the other way if Micah Parsons is on the field? Do you think Caleb gets the stuff done with that pressure in his face? Is that the reason why the Packers lost?
Maybe, but I'm a big believer in one player doesn't make a team, and I think you've got to find different ways to do things that you try to do, and you need to create pressure in different ways. If that's the way you're going to get to the Bears is by putting as much pressure on Caleb as you can with Micah Parsons, but he's not there, then you need to be looking at other creative ways to do that. And I think it's a big loss for the Packers is losing Parsons, but I think the game in itself is even bigger.
Yeah, I fully agree. I do think I do back you on one player doesn't make a team, but for me personally, there's two positions that make the biggest impact, and that's a deal like a D end, for instance, and a quarterback. And if you don't have you starting either one of them, is when your team can look and feel like a completely different outfit, and that goes to show when Parsons is out. But balls of the week game 3, great game again. Anything else before we move on to the scores from the doors and the rest of the NFL?
No, let's check out the other scores, shall we?
Sweet, let's do it. So we've got our 60-second whip round, my man.
60-second whip around starts now. So the Seahawks took the Rams to the absolute limit, coming out with a 1-point victory. Chargers show how to do it. Cowboys started really great this season on offense, but they absolutely sputtered in this one with the Chargers getting that road win. The Panthers take the Buccaneers to a 3-point victory, closing that divisional scrap with edging them late on. The Vikings 16, Giants 13, a defensive slugfest, some may say, with a late field goal deciding that one. While the Bills and Browns, again, 3 points separating this one, seems to be a theme this week, but a hard-fought win for Buffalo. Cook is looking the real deal. He is looking great.
Moving on now to the Saints and Jets. Saints 29, Jets 6. Shock. The Saints control from the start. The Jets offense is trash. I'm not going to say any more on that one. Titans 29, Titans 26, Chiefs 9. The Titans D absolutely balled out from the Chiefs offense went silent as soon as Minshew went down. Understandable. It was never going to be an easy game from there. Credit where credit's due on that Titans outfit. Bengals 45, Dolphins 21. Big shock on this scoreline for me, but since his offense just outpaced Miami just looked poor from the get-go. They just couldn't really get into it, to be fair to you. Texans 23, Raiders 21. If you were going to tell me the Raiders were going to score 21 points for the rest of the season, I'd have told you were lying to me, never mind in 1 week. But they did anyway, and it's a tight divisional finish where the Texans held on to it. Then moving on to the Steelers, Lions, Steelers 29, Lions 24. A nice Steelers attack towards the late on. The Lions did fight out, but it just faded off and they got tired towards end. And then the 49ers 48, Colts 27. The San Francisco offense is just, it's just great. It is just unreal at this moment in time. The scoring points are fun. I believe they only conceded 27 points because I don't think they've got a single starting defensive player on the roster at this moment in time. Rest of them are all injured. But yeah, I think we did well. I think we did like, that's got to be sub 6 seconds. That
It's got to be
I
close.
think we did well. We need to get a timer on the screen. I will leave that with me. I'm going to try and get a timer on this screen where we can see how close we are to actually get it done.
We might need like a really scary sort of countdown warning sound, like give us that bit of pace, like someone's chasing you.
Yeah, like the old Mike Myers or whatever it was. The music in the background, that style of things. But
Yeah.
we got from there. So now, my mate, it is now time to move on to the Week 17 games and a preview of the look ahead to next week or this week, technically, because we've got games early, haven't we?
We have. It's a weird week. This one. I think just like in life in general, when Christmas hits, it's all out of whack. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what time of day it is. You're eating breakfast with a Guinness at the same time. It's everything goes a bit topsy turvy, and I think it's the same for the NFL, isn't it? We've got our Christmas games.
We have. And before we start looking at the games ahead, just want to quickly talk to you about Christmas games, Christmas sports games to be exact, right? So, not just NFL is what I'm saying. Basketball was the main starter of like the sports games on Christmas Day. It was a tradition to go to the court to watch the ball and things like that. Now NFL's there. As a Brit watching it, I don't know about you, but when I put it on, it's got to be on in the background. The commentary is not on because we've got family around. The Christmas music's playing, we're having dinner or whatever. Nobody in my household other than me really likes to watch ball, so you can put it on if you turn it down type thing. I don't know, like it's hard enough to sit and watch it. You imagine turning around to the family and going, "Hey guys, just let you know, I'm going to have dinner and then I'm just going to go out for 4 hours to watch the game live, and then we'll come back." Christmas Day games, yes or no? Like,
I'm so torn with it because I think Christmas is almost like about well, it is about traditions, isn't it? In most households, Christmas is you've got your routines, you do what you do, and you probably do the same thing almost every single year to the minute. And I think the difficult thing is, especially as a British fan, American football is it's not a tradition, is it here?
yeah,
It's just not. And it's a difficult one to try and I think justify to the family, but also to just build into your own day. You know, I'm a sucker for Christmas traditions and routines. You know, I know every single year, without a doubt, we're going to go to the local working men's club at midday, and I'm going to meet my granddad, and we're going to have a couple of pints, and then we'll get kicked out at 2 o'clock, and then we'll go home and we'll do dinner, and like I just know that's happening, and throwing in then games at 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever time it is that they're kicking off, it kind of just throws things out of whack a little bit. I think the late game's not too bad for a UK fan because people tend to have their nap or pass out, you know, later on in the day anyway. So
yeah,
it's quite a nice one to have. But then on the flip side, you know, I grew up a rugby league fan. And although it's not Christmas Day, I loved nothing more than the Boxing Day friendly. You know, it's your first sort of pre-season game of the team. Granted, you'd only get 3 or 4 starters maybe, but I loved knowing again that on Boxing Day I'm going out and I'm going to go watch the rugby, and that's just part of it. And that was again just another part of my festive period. So whether it becomes a tradition and builds into people's lives. They do it on Thanksgiving. That's been a long-standing thing now in America, hasn't it? So maybe it's just as a British fan, it just feels a bit abnormal, a bit unusual.
That's it.
Creatures of
That's it.
habit sort of thing.
I back you on the Boxing Day rugby league. We're both rugby league fans. Like I back you on like we always are two local teams that have that friendly, and it would always lovely to go. Well, great to go down because you'd see your mates have a pint wearing your new, jumper you been bought or whatever, and you got your Lynx Africa on, and you were loving life, and you were going down to the games. It's good to see. I personally love. I could watch sport all year round, and so a lot of people are like, what about them wanting to go see their families and stuff? Look, you pay me 100 million a year, and I'll go play football on Christmas Day. I don't care, like, because these guys can retire when they're 35 years old and spend as many times, spend as many years as they want with the family afterwards on Christmas. It's the research Carl just bobbed into our little chat here. Again, the big thing in the UK is the football on Boxing Day, but I think for me, Boxing Day, again, it's probably tradition wise because we are in the UK. Boxing Day was always about the sport, going out, watching it, and things like that. I think that for the Christmas Day side of things is because it's so family orientated. How do you go around with incorporating it into your day? And for me, they could just show the game with no commentary on at all, put no commentators on whatsoever, and I couldn't tell you, I wouldn't be able to tell you a difference because we just put it on in the background for me to just glance over and watch. Now, going back to the start of the episode, of today's episode, when we talk about how many teams are already in the playoffs, does that make this Christmas Day less desirable to try and pester your family to be able to watch? Because there's nothing really to what. It's like watching three friendlies, isn't it? If you think about it.
Yeah, they're not the
Other than
most exciting fixtures really this season, are they? Although if you'd have asked that same question back in May, June, July, whenever it was that the NFL decided to release the schedule this year, it's they look like okay games on paper, but now I think you've got 6 teams playing across 3 games. Obviously, good maths. But I think if memory serves, without actually looking at this, I'm sure there's maybe only one starting quarterback across those 6 teams. If I'm right, I feel like Research Cal's getting on this now. I can see him squirreling away in the background, getting the hamster wheel going.
That's
Um,
it.
but I'm almost certain there's very few starting quarterbacks. And to go back to the point you made about the Packers and sort of those. Sorry, I've been corrected. 2 starting quarterbacks. We've got Goff and we've got Nix. Thank you, researcher Cal. But the point stands is we've got some very different teams playing to the teams that we expected, and that also goes a big way, I think, as a UK fan, how invested in those games you're going to be. There's very little. I mean, there's some implications around the playoffs, but it's not as though we've got 2 big dog teams playing against each other, deciding the first seed of the NFC, for example. It's going to be an interesting or not so interesting slate of games, in my opinion.
That's it. Well, with the slate of games, we have them on screen now. If you are an audio listener, by the way, we do these on YouTube. These are all these podcasts are recorded live for YouTube. So if you want to go head over at some point and look at them, you can see all the lovely graphics that Brad's designed, by the way. So you can have a look at them. But we do have the it's that way. We do have the Week 17 games up on the screen right now. There's some entertaining ones, I must admit. There is some ones that kind of scream out, but they're not Christmas Day ones. They just kind of fall into the normal kind of category of the Seahawks Panthers game. To me, that's could be quite an exciting game because the Panthers are starting to get a bit of rhythm going, which could be fun to watch. But there's also some games where I can feel blowouts coming through. So it's just over this festive period, I'm predicting a bit of a decline in viewership to what we would see normally because there's a few nothing games in there because the teams have been decided so early. But just going through the games, shall we read through the games? Should we go through the games top to bottom and see what we say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go through them. So to start off, we've got Dallas versus Washington Commanders. In fact, actually, you know what? Do some predictions off the cuff, planning right now. Let's go through predictions. Carl, write these down off the top of your head. Say who's going to win. We move on to the next one. No reason why. Okay. So we've got Dallas versus Washington. For me, I'm back in Dallas. I can't see anybody past Dallas, personally.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Cowboys all the way. Lions, Vikings. Hey, I'm in the same boat as you from the start of this season. Start of this episode. JJ McCarthy is dog water. Lions win that one for me.
Lions 100%. JJ is just not being it this season at all, and I think there's gonna be some tough conversations there next year. I see a veteran coming in who's gonna really push him for that starting spot.
I fully agree. We've got we've got the Broncos and Chiefs. This could be a cricket score if Bo Nix stays in. I just don't see anything other than the Broncos again. I believe I'm guessing you're going to go the same way.
Yeah, Broncos and extra prediction. Bo Nix does not play any of the fourth quarter.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Okay. Okay. I like that a lot. We've got Texans and Chargers. This could be a great game. I am going to go Chargers because I think the Chargers have what it takes, even though the Texans have probably got the best defense in the NFL right now. But I'm back in the Chargers.
The Chargers are a bit of a soft spot team for me this season. I do really like them, and I love how nuts Harbaugh is. Like the team are embodying his psychotic, gritty, weird personality. But I think the Texans are potentially coming good at the right time. I'm going to go for a close one. Texans take it.
Ooh, for the first one where we're not agreeing on it. Okay, I like it. Let's go. So then we've got the Ravens and the Packers. With this, so this is a close one for me because we've got a good offense. So we've got positives and negatives across both sides. Ravens bounce back. I can't not back against them. Ravens bounce back for me. Ravens will beat the Packers.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to contradict myself here a little bit, but without Micah Parsons on the edge, being able to try and seal Lamar a little bit, I think this is going to be a Lamar field day. I think this score is going to be bigger than we think. I think Ravens are going to take no and take their place and really hand it to the Packers this week.
Up next, we have the Buccaneers and Dolphins. I see a Baker Mayfield bounce back here. I think the Buccaneers have just not got rolling the past couple of weeks. I worry for the Dolphins. I must admit, I do worry for the Dolphins. Buccaneers easily.
You know what? Quinn started really good for the Dolphins last week. He had a genuinely a good start, but just in the second half, nothing really got going. I don't see any way the Dolphins win.
Are we backing
No,
against your own team? Oh, sacrilege. But fair enough. Up next, we have the Patriots and Jets. Another predicted cricket score for me. I just don't see anything else otherwise. Patriots all the way. Let's go, baby. This could be
Patriots.
another one where Drake might be the same as Bo Nix and doesn't play the fourth quarter.
Are you gonna make that prediction?
Do you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to do it. Let's go. Drake May does not play the fourth quarter of this game. I'm happy with that. Steelers, Browns. Tough one. Tough one. And I am going to go with the Browns will take the victory here. I think something will. The
Wow,
Browns have to bounce back. Right. The Browns
wow.
have to bounce back. Yeah. Browns victory. There's me outside a bet. That's what I put in my accumulator to boost the price up. The
It's
Browns
gonna
will take the
be
victory there.
It's going to be an interesting one to see that happen. I just don't know what the Browns have got going for them. I think they're gritty and they're pushing some teams in games where they probably shouldn't. But Shador's interesting. Is an interesting story. I don't think he's the guy.
No.
Steelers are still pushing to win their division. Um, I think Rodgers has got a chip on his shoulder this season. He wants to go on a high. I think it's Steelers victory.
I
I've got you
see
research,
Garrett.
Cal.
I see our news next week. It'll be Miles Garrett, all time leading sacks. Throughout the years, only half a sack away from me. I see that. That's in his name headlines next week for that. Jacksonville Colts. Jags win for me. Jags win.
Jags.
As much as Philip Rivers is looking, Jags win for me. It's no brainer on that. Saints and Titans. Oh, 5-6 weeks ago, this should have been a game that I'd rather have watched Test cricket than watching this because it'd be two teams that just got a note for me, right? But I'm going to go Titans. Cam Ward. Let's go. There's nothing good about the
Find
Saints, in
this
my opinion.
so tough to call. I'm going Saints.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Okay, you've got Saints. That's fine. Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold takes it. Seahawks all day long.
100%. Yep.
Sweet as a nut. Arizona Cardinals and Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals will put points against these if these carry on how they did last week. So Bengals win.
I think so. I think Burrow's got a point to prove. He got a lot of stick in the media, didn't he, for some of the things he's said, and then he went out and bawled
Yep.
and made a real good point of saying he's happy. He's very happy. So I think he's going to be happy after this game as well, taking it to the Cardinals.
That's it. New York Giants and Las Vegas Raiders. This could be a 0-0 finish because I don't see either of the teams scoring without a defense on the field as well. Right?
This for me is probably the game of this entire slate that actually has one of the biggest implications in it. This is number one pick bowl, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. And both teams will be tanking without tanking. I'm gonna go out there and say Jackson Dart takes it. Just yeah, the Giants. Let's pick the Giants on this one.
I think Raiders are just this team which always somehow, despite showing promise every now and then, just seem to find a way to mess things up. They're almost recently in the last sort of, 10, 20 years in that similar sort of area as the Jets and the Dolphins, who always find ways to just make things look bad. And I think the Raiders who are in desperate need of, big time potential players, they're gonna win and they're gonna lose their opportunity for the number one pick.
Yes, it's going to be very similar to what happened to New England last year when they was in line for that number one pick, and then it never happened because they went out and won a game. with Milton as the QB, and they need a new head coach because Pete Carroll's not the guy. He's just not the guy right now. So yeah, are you guys? So are we both on the Giants there?
No, sorry, I'm taking Raiders. Raiders are going to win.
Oh, you just give. Oh, well, okay. You're taking Raiders. I'm taking Giants. Okay,
Yeah.
this could be interesting to see next week. Up next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles and Buffalo Bills. Now, this on paper is a juggernaut of a game, but both teams are now in the playoffs. Do they risk all their starters? Obviously, seeding and where the place could be key. Do they risk all their starters? If they do, I just see the Philadelphia run game running all over the Bills. As good as the Bills are, and as good as Josh Allen is, and they're a great team, their run defense isn't the one. And I just think that, like, if we could do what we did against them with the run game, what's Saquon Barkley going to do? And that offensive line.
I just think this is a real test game for the Bills, who every year, I don't know whether it's because they're in the same division as the Dolphins, but there's something about them where I kind of like them, but I kind of don't. And I don't think it's because of their success over the last however many years, but I just think there's something about them that just really niggles me a little bit. And I think this is the one thing I've always kind of had to fall back on with that thought is, well, they choke. And that's rich from me as a Dolphins fan, but the Bills choke and they never get it done. And I think this game could decide their season. I think it could decide their playoffs. I think if they take this win, they could then roll into the playoffs. Both teams, I think, are playing, as you say, for seeding. Divisions, depending on who you're talking about. But I think I'm going to go for a Bills win.
Okay. I've gone
There's
Eagles, you've
something
gone Bills.
about them this year.
Okay. I like it. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers. Once again, another juggernaut of two informed teams. And you know what? I'm backing my QB in fantasy, Caleb Williams. I'm backing the Bears because he's going to be my boy for the next 5 years. I can see it. So I'm backing the Bears to beat the Niners. But the same question is to the game above. How many of the starters at the start? Like, the offense of the Niners is fantastic, and they will score a lot of points. But their defense, as good as it's playing at the moment, they don't have the starting players there. I'm backing Bears. That's my prediction.
I don't think you're going to see too many rested players yet. I think there's still too much to play for. They're still playing for divisions. They're playing for the seeding. I don't think you're going to get too many players rested unless the game sort of runs away with them. But I think I agree with you. I think I've got the Bears.
I like it. I like it. And the last game of the week is the LA Rams and the Atlanta Falcons. It's hard to see past the Rams, really. The Rams they're just balling well. I think Puka can run up and down the field twice and score a touchdown, and no one will touch him. He's just unbelievable. That offense is building around him, and it's really nice to see. So Rams victory for me.
Yeah, it's got to be. And I think you've got Stafford who's quietly having an MVP caliber season. I think, I know he's getting a good bit of shout. I don't know what the latest odds are for things like that, but what's interesting is you've got these names that have kind of come up, not out of nowhere, but like Drake May, for example, who's having an absolute screamer of a season, Bo Nix. But Stafford's up there just quietly cracking on and doing what he needs to do.
Happy
Yeah,
days.
it's got to be a
So
Rams win.
there we go. So there are weekly predictions. We're going to come back to these next week, and we're going to see who's got the upper hand on this. And hey, if this is something that we like doing, we might start scoring weekly. See who can predict the most towards the back end, who gets the most at the end of the year. Who's the other one a pint? We could do. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I think it's time for the next section of the pod, and that is. Well, I'm just looking down here. I had the right brain fart then. And that is the all other balls. Let's get into it, shall we?
Brain fart. I love
Yeah,
that phrase.
I just absolute went down to it. Yeah, so we've got all of the balls coming in now. This is a section where we talk about other sports that may or may not include balls that I've got big headlines on. I've got big headlines. Have I said that right? Is that right, Brad?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely nail on the head. We're talking at the other main headlines in sports from around the globe. And I think, speaking of brain farts, last week we started our all other balls segment with two sports that had nothing to do with balls, neither of them. But we do have some balls for you today. We do have some balls, but we're not going to start with balls, actually. We're going to start with another brain fart, which
Yeah.
is Jake Paul thinking that he is good enough to take on Anthony Joshua in a heavyweight boxing match, a sanctioned, licensed match, not an exhibition, an actual fight that matters to records. And it was, I think, exactly as everyone expected it to be, but with some little bits that weren't so expected. I mean, I watched it and immediately saw the size of the boxing ring, and I was like, "Hang on, this ring seems a little
Yeah.
bit bigger than normal." And now I'm not going to pretend to be a boxing expert. I'm absolutely not. I'm, a big name fan where I'll jump on a big fight and I'll have a look at it, but I know enough about the sport, and I straight away looked at it and was like, "What's going on here?" And then the second the bell rang and Jake Paul's running around the ring, it's like, right, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. And I think for the first two rounds, credit where credit's due. I mean, it was boring, but Jake Paul played a great game plan and managed to avoid AJ. I think AJ probably was out scoring him by the end of the second, but probably not by much because there weren't really many punches landed at all in those first two rounds.
It's down to the speed, though, isn't it? Like I think Jake came out and said, like, look, the size difference is this. I'm just going to run him around the ring, and my stamina will be better than him. And like you say, I think where Jake where Jake benefits from other fighters is like this guy's a multi millionaire. He has shares in investment stuff that's worth billions, and So he doesn't need the money. He doesn't fight this for money. He's doing it for the fame side of things. Obviously, the money's going to be nice, but he can offer wages that are ridiculous. And research Cal coming in clutch here, 70 million prize pocket each on this, right? So Anthony Joshua's not going to turn around and go, you know what, you want to run rings around me in a bigger ring, you do it. Because as it's shown, the boxing kind of came out of it. I watched the video and how it broke down, and Jake Paul does this like overhand right. Again, I'm the same as you, Brad. I watch the big fights. I know, I could talk boxing, but I don't. I'm not going to stand there and say that I watch it week in, week out, and I know who's who and all this. I know the big fighters. And Jake, someone broke it down like Jake does this overhand, leaving himself wide open on one side, but he'd been towing up for it, and that's his go-to. What he'd knocked out X amount of people with in the past. He throws this punch, he connects with Joshua, and Joshua just instantly rebounds and hits him like it was a sparring match. And the weight difference, so it was a sanctioned fight, but I don't understand how it was a sanctioned fight. The height difference, yeah, go with it. David Haye versus whoever it was back in the day, with David versus Goliath, and he's the size difference was crazy. There was nearly 30 pounds difference between the AJ and Jake Paul, and AJ had to come down in weight as well for this. Look, I ain't a Jake Paul fan at all. The guy's smart. He earns a lot of money. Yes, I'd love a penny behind him in his bank or whatever. But credit where credit's due to him for stepping into that ring. But in hindsight, would you take a punch off Anthony Joshua for 70 million?
Absolutely.
Too right. Too
There's
right.
not
Of
much I
course I would.
wouldn't do, but I'm not sure I'd live to be able to then spend it. That's the only thing. I just think it just showed the difference in weight, in class, in ability when you saw it sort of coming into rounds 3 and 4 when Joshua was not Joshua, sorry, Jake Paul was just grappling constantly. And then as those rounds got on and he became more tired, he was like clutching at his legs and falling onto the floor. I mean, it went from a little bit embarrassing because he's basically just running away from AJ in the ring to then embarrassing because he was literally like falling at his feet every 10 seconds to the point where the referee actually brought them together. And I'm sure I'm going to try and quote this as closely as I possibly can. And it came up through the broadcast so perfectly. It was great. I think even the commentary picked up on it. He said, "Nobody in here is paid to watch this shit." And it was like, you couldn't describe it any better. And then I think round 5 hit, and you could just see Jake Paul was exhausted. He'd had enough. AJ had had enough. He went from sort of grappling and allowing Jake Paul to grapple him to, okay, you're going to grapple me, then I'm going to put some body shots into you and make sure you feel it and make sure
Yeah.
you're not going to keep coming and doing it. And good Lord, that knockout, I don't think on the first view, I don't think the broadcast camera actually probably had it at the best angle, but when you see all the videos and the highlights after,
Yeah.
good Lord, that is, I mean, the guy's jaw went into next week.
Broke it in two
Um,
places, didn't
yeah, yeah.
he? Like but even when Jake goes down, he looks at his corner and he's like, wow. Like he mimes, it was like, whoa, but broke in two places. But look, hey, credit where credit's due. 70 million well earned. He is eating his Christmas dinner through a straw because he's on a liquid diet now for the next God knows how long. But hey, look, you win some, you lose some, don't you? Let him crack on.
You
He's
do.
getting some eyes to the sport, I suppose. So yeah, so that is the All of the Balls story 1. The story 2 for All of the Balls does include a ball. So we have
Hey,
our 4th story finally includes a ball. Probably not a positive thing for this, for as an England fan, but England have lost the Ashes. The Ashes will stay in Australia. Now, I am not a cricket lover. I'll watch the big games. I watch the World Cup. I don't mind watching a bit of Ashes when it's on, but Test cricket absolutely bores the living life out of me, just generally, because I don't really understand it that well, to be quite honest with you. But for me, we lost 3-0, by the way. There's still 2 more Test matches to go out of 5. They're nothing games. I don't know why they're still playing them. It's just best of 5. Why not just stop it now and let them kind of crack on with it? For me, though, whenever there's a big cricket match on, normally it's all over the papers. It's all over. Like I normally get notifications galore on my phone about it. Like it's building up to it. I feel like because Sky Sports hasn't had the coverage this year, I forgot the Ashes were even happening. Like Sky Sports sold it to TNT, I believe. Like so, it's just not been a thing. I think like genuinely the first notification that I noticed on my phone, was like BBC Sport saying going into the final test. If Australia win this, they won the Ashes. I'm like, all right, when did it start? Don't get me wrong. I know it's in Australia this time round, and it's in Australia, so the time zone is going to be off for us anyway. But you normally can still keep up with it. And big shout out to Research Kelly for the last time that England won a Test match in Australia was 2010. So that's like 15 years ago. Boys, just give it up as a bad job. Like, come on. And it just goes to show. I think I saw a clip of like Ben Stokes, I think it was, and Joffrey Archer getting into a bit of a spat on the field. Like, just save for changing rooms, talking there. You're professional athletes, man. Like, give it a rest.
There's just certain sports in there that the Aussies just seem to have our number, and I know we have our moments with the cricket. You know, we're definitely not a bad cricketing country, if that's the right way to phrase it. But I think there's certain sports that the Aussies just have, and you've got cricket, you've got rugby league. They're on another level when I think, on the whole, when you're talking about those sports. And I'm with you, Zach. Like, cricket's always been a weird one for me because I love playing it. And I think that's because I've grown up in the park playing it with my granddad, and then I played for a village team for a very short period. It's a sport that I enjoy playing, but to watch, I've got to be there. I've got to be there live to watch it. The 2020 cricket's great. It's your sort of more fast-paced, high energy, high octane cricket, if you like. Big slogging hits as much as they can. Whereas Test cricket, I guess, is more tactical, if you like, more strategic. But it's not necessarily one for me. But I think it's just Australia show their class with cricket, and they've got our number, haven't they?
That's it. I mean, I don't understand how Test cricket's still going on because it's like a Wednesday afternoon in middle of July or something. Like, how are they making money? There's no one there. There's no one there. But anyway, England lost. Well done, Aussies. You've got it for the next couple of years. Hopefully, we can bring it back home around here. Right, there are all other balls stories. Brad, what is next?
So, coming up next is our weekly segment rotation. So, each week we will have a different segment, a little bit of fun. Last week we featured for the first time Wives' Words, but this week we've got something different. And this one's all prepped and readied by researcher Cal. We are going in blind on this one. So, Zach and I have not seen what you will see on the screen. But this segment is stats that sound fake. So, to explain this in a little bit more detail, there's 3 stats on the screen, 2 of which are true, and 1 of which is fake. Now, researcher Cal is sat in the background. Unfortunately for you guys, you can't see his lovely face, but we can see him, and he's looking a little bit smug right now. So, what's interesting is if we can see these on the screen, we will have 3 stats, which I can see now on my screen. So we have got Tom Brady has never thrown a first quarter touchdown in any of his Super Bowl appearances. So Tom Brady has never thrown a first quarter touchdown at a Super Bowl. The next one we've got is the Green Bay Packers have never held the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Now, I want a bit more information on this one if I'm allowed, researcher Cal. Does that include like a pick that they've traded for? Is it just that they've never ever picked at number 1? Is that what we mean by that one? And then while I'm getting that context from researcher Cal, the third one is despite not being part of the AFC East since 1969, giggity, the Houston Oilers still have as many AFC East titles as the New York Jets. Despite being not part of the AFC East since 1969, the Houston Oilers still have as many AFC East titles as the New York Jets. Just for clarification, that middle one means yes, it includes even trading for it. So basically, the Green Bay Packers have never picked number one overall, I think, is what we're saying with that one. This is tough. He started with a real tough one. What do you think?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. It's research, Carl. Like, these are what he reads stuff like this to go to sleep with. So let's break it down a little bit. Tom Brady never thrown a touchdown in any of his Super Bowl appearances, right? I'm a Patriots fan. I lived through the Brady era, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't think of this. I think that this, for me, if this had been a stat, it'd been a stat that I'd probably have heard of in the past. Now I might eat my words here because if this comes back to be real, I don't look very good here. But I think I'd have heard of this one before today. So I'm kind of edging away from that first one.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little process of elimination here. I agree with you with that. However, I still feel like it's possible. Now, the third one for me feels so specific that it's probably true. I
See,
feel
yeah. Sorry, go on.
no. I just think it's that specific. It's that particular. The fact that he's using the term Houston Oilers as well. Um, And it's I think that one. I mean, I've got no clue. I've got absolutely no idea, but I think that one's true, just based on that information.
See, I've done many a site induction, right, when it comes to getting on building sites and things in the past. And when you're doing a site induction, the unofficial rule is if there's an answer that says all of the above, that's the answer because it's kind of it's got it all in, right? This to me is the all of the above. It's got the specific date in it. The Houston Oilers. It's got everything in, and it's got the worst team in NFL history, in my opinion, which is the New York Jets, based into it. Like it seems too, like you say, too specific to not true. Now, if Carl's pulled a blinder in, he's gone fishing, he's got two fish with an hook here, I'm telling you now, because he's got me and you on a reel. Because that to me is the one that I was going to go is true, and the other ones aren't. Because I'm trying to think of the draft picks, like with the Packers and things like that. I'm trying to think. I'm not very clued up with the Packers draft picks in terms of what they've done, but that one to me seems too not specific as such, but like that just seems too unbelievable. Like they would have traded up at some point to get somebody.
I think I've gone in. It's my own segment, and I think I've gone in here backwards here. Research Cal, just confirm it's just one stat that is real, and the other two are fake, or is it one is fake and two
One
one
stat is
stat is
real. Is
real? Okay,
one stat is real.
I
All right,
think
let's look at him. Let's look at him.
yeah, locked in. Let's go. Tell
Stat
us,
three
research
is the
Cal.
real one.
The real stat is
Uh,
he's dragging it on here. It's, it's
uh,
a it's an audio
Stat
podcast.
three.
Stat three. Woohoo!
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Process
Got
of
him on it straight.
elimination
No.
works.
See,
Yes,
the
I
thing is now
like
we've
it.
we've let him into our brains, so I think when this segment comes back around, he's going to be all over this. We're going to suffer next time. I can see it. It's like an evil genius mastermind now is plotting already. He'll have the next three of these ready to go.
That he will. But not only have we seen a little bit of researcher Carl's mind, believe it's time for the audience to kind of get involved as well, what they
Believe
can
so.
get involved with. So moving on to the next bit and the final part, Edward, do you want to introduce the next bit for us?
Yeah, so the next one is where we want you guys to get involved. So head on over to our YouTube channel, leave a comment. So find this section, leave a comment, let us know what you think, because the next segment is Cal's Conundrum. So this one is a question for you, the audience, and what we will do is we'll look to reveal the answer to you. But Cal's Conundrum for this year, the inaugural Cal's Conundrum, is Jerry Rice leads the NFL all time in receiving yards after the age of 40. Now, the question is, and this is where we want you to get on the comments and leave your feedback, who is second place in the same list? Now, let me just make this really clear. Nobody likes a cheat. This is pub quiz vibes. Keep your phones away, keep the internet away. Who is second in the same list? So Jerry Rice leads the NFL all time in receiving yards after the age of 40. Who is second in the same list? And that, ladies and gents, is this week's Cal's Conundrum.
Tricky one is that. I like it. Tricky one is that. So that's it. I like it. Good. I'm looking forward to see what the comments come back on, because I'm not going to be honest with you, I don't think I'd have a clue. I really don't. My NFL knowledge back then is well, it's just I won't have a clue. I'm not going to lie. But that's it. We're done. Episode 2 in the bags, mate. It's been a pretty decent episode, if you ask me as well. It's been a pretty good one. But guys, as it is a second one, and we're still up and coming, I want you to do me a favour. If you can hear my voice now, if you can see our beautiful faces on YouTube, and you've enjoyed any part, that's a beautiful God, any part of this pod, do me a favour, wherever you're listening or watching, hit like, follow, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a review. It goes further than you'll ever imagine, and it will help us out so much, and it will mean the world to us if you don't mind. If you're listening, come and watch us. If you're watching, go listen. Depends what you want to do. But happy days. We hope you have an amazing festive period, whatever you're doing. I hope the big man brings everything that you want him to do. And we hope you have a great time watching the ball over the weekend as well. But from myself, from Brad, and from Research Cal, Merry Christmas, good night, God bless. And we'll see you on the other side.